Thank you for joining the National Aging and Disability Transportation Driver Safety and Transition online course. The focus of the course is driver safety and transition, understanding shared interests, challenges, and opportunities for collaboration in supporting transportation independence. In this presentation, Welcome to the Freewheeling Movement, Empowering Older Adults with Choices, you'll learn a different approach to giving up the keys talk. My name is Judy Bonilla, and early in my career, I was a staff member of a senior transportation program, first working with a volunteer driver program, and then later as a travel training instructor. The combined experience inspired me to develop the freewheeling movement. The origin of the movement began by encouraging older adults to explore public transportation to supplement their driving. Then later, I began researching on how to prolong safe driving through health interventions and skill improvement. Ultimately, it led to developing a flexible network that focuses on two priorities: the empowerment of older adults and their life experience. In our culture, the topic of transportation is often left out of the conversation. Usually, the focus is on financial retirement or aging in place. Transportation is often overlooked. However, since you chose this module, consider yourself a change maker. You're seeking information and resources that can change the future of so many. You've taken the first step to develop a network by understanding there is no formal product or one-size-fits-all transportation solution. In this module, we'll focus on 5 key areas: the power of self-awareness, driving habits, building and using social capital, transportation resources, and aging in community. No one wants to talk about giving up the keys. Adult children don't want to have the conversation with their parents. Many older adults don't want to think about giving up driving. Often, it's because they don't know what resources are available to them. However, similar to taxes, each year April 15th comes around and there's no avoiding filing a tax return. What action can we take to facilitate the conversation with older adults and their family members? I believe there's a different approach, and I'm sharing it with you. Again, in summary, the first part of the visualization exercise connects participants to their feelings, and then by asking them about the experience, they can verbalize their concern. In the second part of the exercise, it creates an opening for them to accept that planning a strategy creates a solution designed specifically for them. As many of you know, 80% of Americans by age 65 have one chronic condition, 68% have 2 or more. Of these conditions, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arthritis, heart disease, and diabetes are the most prevalent. Often an individual may be taking multiple prescriptions. However, few older drivers understand the effect prescriptions and medications can have on their driving. This is where you can make a difference, especially with health promotion programs. Focusing on driving habits, we have 3 areas of importance that affect drivers and those using transportation programs as well as public transportation. The first is health, and this can tie in with health promotions and awareness. The second is knowledge. What does it take to drive in 2018? And lastly, skill development. How well are individuals driving? First, focusing on health. When it comes to empowerment, it's about the ability to take action and begin building out a transportation network. The following are 4 ways older adults can take steps to improve their mobility and overall wellness. The first is a medication review, also known as a visit with a pharmacist. This is a relatively low barrier, and all it requires is an individual to take their prescriptions in their original container, any over-the-counter medication, any teas, any oils, any supplements, anything they are taking to improve their overall wellness. The goal is to identify any potential for drug interaction that may affect their driving. The second is fall prevention. The Automobile Association did a research project that identified older adults who had fallen were at higher risk for an automobile accident. So again, pairing the two of these, this is a great health promotion program viewed as being able to keep driving a little bit longer. The third, and almost always overlooked, is an eye exam. Again, often Medicare does not cover this unless there's a supplement, so many older adults are not seeing their vision care provider as often as they should. And following that is a hearing screening and testing. Again, with some of the new hearables on the market, we might start seeing some change. All these 4 interventions and health promotions are something that can be put together as a collaboration, whether it's a health resource fair or a health screening. What I encourage you to do is to frame this with the lens of, are you interested in driving longer? 4 ways to improve your ability to drive. Stay behind the wheel longer. Again, these are simple interventions that we are often already doing out in the community. However, there has not been the focus around health that I think there should be. So again, these 4 health promotions are a great way to start the conversation about how you can stay behind the wheel longer. Now moving on to driving habits and knowledge. These next 3 elements can be supportive to drivers as they navigate through their communities. First, I invite you to begin by framing the driving landscape for your clients. Currently, we have 4 generations on American roads. The silent generation and baby boomers who received formal driver training as part of a high school curriculum. Then in Gen X, we begin to see a shift. They're more likely to have been informally trained by a family member. This generation is influenced by a curriculum change that eliminated driver's education from the classroom. And now millennials, who are either trained by a family member or through a teen driving school. This key fact about these 4 generations highlights the difference in generational knowledge about driving in today's traffic. It also opens up the discussion about changes in road design, congestion, and traffic patterns. And ultimately, it highlights the need for ongoing training and skill development. I encourage you to incorporate the following 2 programs as part of an action plan for your clients. Again, first you highlight the 4 generations on the road and how each of them have learned differently. 2, it emphasizes the need for ongoing training, and now you bring in the supportive programs. The first is CarFit, developed by the American Automobile Association, AARP, and the American Occupational Therapy Association. This program is a community-based project using volunteers. Drivers voluntarily sign up for a checkup, to see how well their car fits them. The day of the event, a trained volunteer technician completes a 12-point checklist. The checkup takes approximately 20 minutes, and the driver leaves with recommendations for car adjustments and adaptation. The second is the AARP or AAA Safe Drivers Program. This can be either taken in person or online. If an individual has access to a computer and Wi-Fi, I encourage them to take the online course. It's self-paced, but more importantly, by using technology, it's interactive. They're using a mouse or a trackpad. It therefore requires focus, timing, and judgment, skills often associated with driving. With this knowledge component, you create awareness about an issue and, more importantly, provide actionable solutions for drivers to take. Next, you can educate drivers on the value of maintaining functional fitness, such as range of motion, flexibility, stamina, and physical strength to maximize their driving ability. The first of the programs I suggest are Silver Sneakers, which is often covered by Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare Part C. This is a health benefit and provides members free access to gyms, fitness classes, and more recently, social events specifically designed for older adults. The second is GeriFit. This is an evidence-based health promotion program and chronic disease self-management support program. Again, designed for older adults, the classes focus on rebuilding strength. Lessons are offered at senior centers, rec centers, and places where group exercise programs are offered. The second part of this fitness conversation is to introduce the importance of physical ability when it comes to using alternative transportation, such as ride sharing, public transportation, and volunteer driver programs. Each of these requires an individual to ambulate in and out of vehicles or in a public space independently. Again, you're creating awareness on steps your clients can take to improve their driving as well as mobility in daily life. Having completed a tune-up, participants can begin processing and identifying what action they can take. If possible, I encourage my clients to set a date, such as this Thursday at 10:30 a.m., I'm going to get a medication review at my pharmacy. Now, in this next section, we begin reaching out to extend our transportation network. First, family members and close friends are often a transportation resource. However, before launching head first, I suggest developing sensitivity and acknowledging it's not always easy for someone to ask for help, as well as understand the personal boundaries of another person. Earlier in the presentation, I shared the fact 94% of adult children find the topic of giving up the car keys uncomfortable. Sharing this fact can actually empower the adult driver. They can take control of the conversation by starting the talk and asking for help. This begins with the first ask for a ride. The prompt I suggest is, I'm interested in going to an event, a time frame. Is it starts at the exact time? Is it possible for you to take me or join me? I'm not comfortable driving there. The key is to start asking while respecting a family member or friend's time constraints, which is why you want to have a time frame and exact time. Then, similar to family, an individual may have developed a close friendship with members of an organization. Again, the script is similar. In this instance, I'm interested in going to the community meeting next week. You've given them the time frame at 7 p.m. exact time. Is it possible for you to take me or join me? I'm not comfortable driving there at night. In addition, if it's an ongoing event they may have been part of, I encourage the client to talk to the membership chairperson about organizing an informal carpool. Again, transportation is not a subject we discuss, and many organizations are not completely aware of the need for transportation. By identifying their local resources, participants can look to their network for help and begin redeeming their social capital. In recapping this session, we began by developing an understanding. Next, as we move out beyond family and community connections, we expand our network to include formal transportation programs. There are 3 traditional programs funded through grants in the senior transportation space. The first is the Volunteer Driver Program, and that is based on volunteers in the community contributing their time and their vehicle to transport individuals in their community to business, shopping, personal grooming, and social appointments. The time frame is usually between Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. There is an orientation for the drivers and a screening process and a vetting process. Again, these are licensed drivers who receive a supplemental third-party insurance to cover them as they conduct their volunteer duties. The second part of that, there is often an application for the rider to make sure they meet the grant criteria. The second of these is a taxi script or taxi voucher. Again, in this instance, the grant often covers the ability to offer taxi vouchers at a reduced cost. For example, locally, a $20 value voucher book is available and sold to participants of the program at $10. So again, they're getting extra value and the difference is covered by the grant. The last of these is a shopping shuttle, and these vary through communities. Sometimes it's a monthly basis, sometimes it's a weekly basis. And what they do is pick up individuals either at their home or at a central meeting space and drive them to a shopping mall and at an appointed time return them back to their homes or at that central meeting point. The important thing to understand about the transportation programs is these require an individual to ambulate on their own. So that means they are able to get in and out of vehicles on their own. This is a curb to curb service. Now, there are some communities that are able to offer lift services where, again, there's a wheelchair ramp, and often that's a special accommodation. So, earlier I mentioned the importance for drivers to retain their functional fitness. By retaining their functional fitness, it makes it easier for them to access these other modes of transportation, such as a volunteer driver program, again, where an individual rides in a passenger car or in a public taxi or get on a shopping shuttle. Now, before I move on, again, the scope of these programs what the scope of these programs can cover is based on available funds, which is why I'm very supportive of travel training programs, which is the fourth of these programs. In my view, travel training, in addition to driver improvement, can decrease the flow of drivers directly to non-driver status. Therefore, it can actually reduce the growing dependency on volunteer driver programs, just as they're impacted with a reduction in volunteers. So, again, the travel training program is usually delivered by either a nonprofit or a transportation agency. So it doesn't exactly fall right in that senior transportation realm, but it really is a vital component that I hope you'll consider. So there's a few things about travel training. There are normally three types of training, which is a trip training, teaching an individual how to go to a particular place using public transportation. The second is one-to-one training, which involves an actual accompaniment of an individual to a destination over a period of time. And the last is a group transit orientation or trip planning, which can be a small group of individuals. And often this is a great opportunity for older adults for connection and social engagement, where they travel together using public transportation to a landmark or a location. Again, it may be a social activity, but they're also learning how to use public transportation. So again, I'll say the three traditional programs, the volunteer driver program, the taxi script, and the shopping shuttle, those are often delivered through a nonprofit or local municipality, while the travel training is delivered through a transit agency. Building a network is systematic. Participants begin by self-improvement, then taking a step outside their comfort zone and asking for help. By investigating the local transportation programs, they are taking a further step to reach out to the wider community. To develop a flexible transportation network requires. Now, as we look to alternative transportation, there is a combination of old and new. The first are designated driver. The designated driver program is incumbent on an individual finding someone who is licensed and insured who is willing to give them a ride. That individual is compensated on a monthly basis through grant funding. This designated driver program is in response to the decreasing numbers of volunteer drivers are available. So again, no money is exchanged between the driver and the rider. It is done at the back end on a monthly basis. This might be a model if there aren't enough volunteer drivers in your pool or in your community. The second area to look at is home health care services. I consider this a premium or concierge service because this does require a commitment between 2 to 4 hours, which can be cost prohibitive. However, when that cost is shared between 3 individuals, the cost goes down and the value of the ride actually does go up. So this might be used for a special occasion or event. So again, that home health care service might be a support to some of your clients. The last is ride sharing. You're familiar with Lyft and Uber. Many adults are accessing those through their smartphones. However, in the past, there's been a barrier to individuals who either didn't have a smartphone or weren't comfortable with the technology. I'm familiar with two platforms. I'm most familiar with two platforms. The first is Arrive Ride, and that is a member-based program where there's a monthly fee, there's an application process, and a credit card is held on file. The other is GoGo Grandparent, a service fee. Again, a credit card is held on file. An individual calls the service. Again, it can be the individual, it can be the adult daughter, it can be a friend, and arranges a service. The ride is monitored. At the end of the ride, the cost is billed. Again, these are fee paid services, but again, it also extends the network and provides on demand transportation. So it may not, ride sharing may not be something that is used daily, but again, it might fit that special occasion or that need for an on demand ride. It all began with one small step. In this presentation, we've helped clients build a system through awareness and a series of small steps that have built out a transportation network. As we wrap up the module, consider the following trends that can support senior transportation. First, the age-friendly communities. Established by the World Health Organization and adopted by AARP, age-friendly communities use the premise that an age-friendly world enables people of all ages to actively participate in community activities. To do so, they focus on 8 domains. Interestingly enough, transportation is the second domain. The thought is driving shouldn't be the only way to get around, that investing in infrastructure can expand transportation options. The second is a village movement. Aging in community is made possible through the village to village network, and services are brought into the community. Whether it's a volunteer or a fee-based service, local neighborhoods are providing services to community members. The last, public policy. Civic engagement, involvement, and awareness of public policy is also an important component. By encouraging older adults to participate and share their expertise, we empower them to plan their transportation future. Aging in community. It looks different and depends on local initiatives and available resources. However, by helping your clients or participants understand their resources, we are building a foundation where driving a car is an option, not a lifeline. As we close, I ask you to join me in reverse engineering the future of older drivers. The goal is to keep individuals safe and connected to their community so they may thrive. To do so requires a network. In this presentation, we began by gaining insights into the thoughts of drivers and eliciting conversation. Then we provided ways to extend their ability to drive confidently and safely. Next, we explored developing community connections and moving out of comfort zones. Later, we reviewed transportation programs and alternative transportation options. Finally, we identified initiatives drivers can take part in. The freewheeling movement is about developing solutions for transportation independence. The future success of transportation for older drivers is based on collaboration, partnerships, and interdependence. Again, thank you for joining me, and I encourage your questions.